August 28th, 2003. Erie, Pennsylvania. A pizza delivery driver named Brian Wells pulls into the parking lot of a PNC Bank branch on Peach Street. He walks inside wearing a dark t-shirt. Under his collar, hidden from view, is a locked metal device. He does not run. He does not call for help. He walks to the counter and hands the teller a note. The note demands cash. It also says a bomb is locked around his neck and will explode if he does not follow a set of instructions. The teller believes him. She hands over just under $9,000 in bills. Wells takes the money and walks back out to his car. He does not drive away. Instead, he pulls a homemade cane gun from inside his shirt, the kind built to look like a walking stick, and gets back behind the wheel. Then he drives, slowly, along a route that seems to follow no clear plan. Witnesses later say he looks calm. Some say he looks resigned. 9 minutes after leaving the bank, state troopers stop him a short distance away, near a television tower off Peach Street. They order him to the ground.
Get on the ground.
Wells tells them the device around his neck is real. He says he has been told there is a scavenger hunt. Notes hidden at locations around the city, each one leading to the next, each one containing a piece of a combination that will disarm the bomb before it detonates. Officers back away and call for the bomb squad. Wells sits on the ground, hands cuffed in front of him, waiting. He asks, more than once, why no one is helping him. The device begins to beep. Local news cameras are already rolling. At 3:18 p.m., with officers still a safe distance away and the bomb squad still minutes out, the collar detonates. Brian Wells dies at the scene, on live television, 40 minutes after walking into the bank. What investigators find afterward does not look like an ordinary robbery gone wrong. The device locked to Wells's neck is elaborate. A metal collar wired to what functions as a live bomb, secured with multiple padlocks, built by someone with real technical skill. In his car, police recover a cane gun, capable of firing a single shotgun shell, along with a set of handwritten notes describing the scavenger hunt in detail, listing locations, clues, and instructions written almost like a puzzle designed to be solved against a clock. The question investigators cannot answer right away is simple and disturbing. Was Brian Wells a hostage, forced at gunpoint to rob a bank he had no part in planning? Or was he in on it from the start, a participant who believed he could walk away with the money once the collar came off? Erie is a small city, and for weeks after the bombing, that question dominates it. Wells had worked the same pizza delivery route for years. Co-workers describe him as reliable, a man who kept to himself, who had recently talked about being short on money. None of that answers whether he agreed to strap on a bomb. The investigation moves slowly. The FBI processes the notes, the collar's components, and the cane gun for evidence. But for nearly 2 years, no arrests follow. The case becomes one of the strangest unsolved crimes in the country. A live televised death with no clear author. Then, in July 2005, the story breaks open, not through forensics, but through a body. A man named William Rothstein calls police to his home in Erie and tells them there is a corpse in his freezer. The dead man, James Roden, had been shot months earlier. Rothstein says he helped hide the body, but insists someone else did the killing. A woman named Marjorie Deal Armstrong, his former fiancée, who still lives nearby and still visits his house regularly, despite their broken engagement. Rothstein is arrested for helping conceal Roden's murder. But as investigators dig into his background, they find something else. Rothstein is a man with real mechanical skill, a former science teacher who builds things in his garage. His property sits close to the television tower where Wells was stopped. And Deal Armstrong, the woman connected to the body in the freezer, has a documented history of instability, a string of past relationships that ended violently, and a motive investigators had not previously considered. She was set to inherit money from her father's estate, and believed a bank robbery could help pay for a contract killing she wanted done on her own behalf. Rothstein, facing pressure over the Roden murder, begins talking about the bank robbery too. He does not confess outright, but the pieces start connecting. Investigators identify a third figure, Kenneth Barnes, a small-time associate of both Rothstein and Diehl Armstrong, a man with a criminal record and, crucially, cancer, and no fear left of prison. In 2007, Barnes agrees to cooperate. His account reshapes the entire case. According to Barnes, the plan had nothing to do with a simple bank job. Diehl Armstrong wanted a hired killer to murder her father in order to speed up her inheritance. She could not pay the killer's fee up front. The plan that formed instead, built largely by Rothstein, was to rob a bank to raise that fee and to disguise the robbery as something else entirely. A bizarre, elaborate hostage plot designed to confuse investigators and delay police response. Barnes tells investigators that Wells was not a random victim pulled off the street. He says Wells knew Diehl Armstrong, had spent time with the group beforehand, and had at least some knowledge that he would be wearing a device and robbing a bank that day. What Barnes says Wells did not know, or did not fully grasp, was that the collar was built to be nearly impossible to remove in time. The scavenger hunt clues, according to Barnes, were never meant to be solved before the bomb went off. They were built into the plan to keep Wells moving, cooperative, and away from police for as long as possible. Whether Wells understood the danger he was in, whether he believed he could survive the day, remains the part of the case no single piece of evidence settles. Rothstein dies of cancer in 2004, before charges are filed against him, taking his full account of what Wells knew to the grave. Diehl Armstrong is arrested and charged in the case in 2007. Her trial does not begin for years, delayed repeatedly by competency hearings over her mental state. She is diagnosed at various points with bipolar disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, and her own legal team argues she may not be fit to stand trial. Prosecutors argue she is manipulative, not incompetent, and push the case forward. In court, the pieces investigators assembled from Barnes' cooperation, from physical evidence at Rothstein's property, and from the design of the bomb collar itself, form a case that persuades the jury. In 2010, Marjorie Diehl Armstrong is convicted of armed bank robbery and conspiracy resulting in death. She receives a life sentence. Kenneth Barnes, for his cooperation and role in the plot, receives a sentence of 45 years. Diehl Armstrong does not go quietly. From prison, she gives interviews, changes parts of her account, and continues to insist she never intended for Wells to die, that the plan was supposed to end with him surviving and walking away. She dies in federal prison in 2017, still maintaining that version of events until the end. What remains disputed, even after convictions, even after a decade of investigation, is the exact nature of Brian Wells's involvement on the day he died. Court documents and Barnes's testimony support the theory that Wells had some foreknowledge. Others who knew him, including his family, have pushed back for years, arguing the evidence never conclusively proves he understood what he was walking into, or that he had any real way to refuse once the plan was already in motion. The scavenger hunt notes recovered from Wells's car list a sequence of locations across Erie, each one meant to lead to a key or a combination. Investigators eventually determined the collar could not have been removed in time, even if every clue had been solved correctly and quickly. Some clues were never fully explained, their purpose in the plan left ambiguous, even after the people who built it were dead, imprisoned, or unwilling to say more. Brian Wells's family has spent years pushing to clear his name, arguing he was a victim from the first moment to the last. The FBI's official case file leans toward Barnes's account of partial knowledge. No one who was in the room when the plan was made is alive and willing to settle it. The device itself, the collar, was destroyed the moment it detonated. The full truth of what Brian Wells knew walked out of that bank with him and never came back out.